Debbie Gibson, the video race winner. Another video race next Monday. Now, NewsRound.
Refugees fleeing Iraq, a country said to be facing catastrophe. And into the fire, the world's best fireman prepares for battle. Hello, and first to Iraq, that's reported to be in turmoil. Hundreds of men, women and children have been fleeing to neighbouring countries. Many say they're running away from the fighting going on between those who support President Saddam Hussein and those who don't. It's still unclear how many Iraqi cities are caught up in the trouble, but the country's second largest city, Basra, is said to have been the scene of fierce fighting. Juliet's been looking at the situation people now face in Iraq.
Iraq is apparently in chaos. Saddam Hussein seems determined to hold on to power, even though many want him to step down as the country's leader. He's said to have ordered his feared Republican guards south to stop the unrest spreading. Some say he's used rockets and cannons against his own people. Last night he went onto Iraqi television to try and build up his crumbling image. He said he would increase rations of baby milk. Baghdad radio still hasn't commented on the reports of trouble in southern Iraq, and Iraqis are asked to be faithful to Saddam Hussein because he's made Iraq the envy of the world. But gestures like this aren't winning round the hundreds of people who've been trying to run away. These people drove through storms to get to Kuwait in the hope of finding peace and food. They were turned back because the Kuwaitis are worried that by letting too many Iraqis in, it could prove a risk to security. All the refugees tell a similar story of fear and suffering. The first eyewitness account of the fighting in Basra has just come from Westerner Brock Matthews, who managed to escape.
The army are using rockets. They used rockets last night. They've been using mortars. The army are also using their cannons. I doubt that the resistance have got anything to match them.
Even Iraqi soldiers are said to be fleeing the country to avoid fighting rebels opposed to their leader. Much of Iraq is in ruins. The charity UNICEF said today it's on the edge of catastrophe. Before the war, it was the world's second richest oil state. Now it's in pieces. The cost of rebuilding will be huge. Meanwhile, its citizens are living without proper food and, more importantly, clean water. Supplies of water have been contaminated, and Iraqi authorities say the country could face epidemics of diseases like typhoid and cholera. Iraq's war against the Allies may be over, but the suffering of its people hasn't ended.
The Prime Minister, John Major, became the first of the Allies' leaders to visit the Gulf since the end of the war. He told British soldiers they'd be coming home as soon as possible. Mr. Major flew to the Kuwaiti desert to thank the troops for their hard work and bravery. Just last week, this was a war zone, and the 7th Armoured Brigade, better known as the Desert Rats, were in the front line of the attack on Iraqi forces. Meanwhile, most of Kuwait's oil wells are still ablaze. The legendary firefighter Red Adair, who's been called in to help, says the fires are the worst he's seen. NewsRound's Terry Badu reports.
Adair by name and daring by nature, the tough-talking Texan Red Adair has spent more than 50 years fearlessly fighting fire. The 75-year-old legend puts his fascination with fire down to watching his blacksmith father fashion horseshoes in the family furnace. Since then, he's conquered at least 20 of the world's biggest oil rig fires. He's perhaps best known in Britain for tackling the blaze on board the Piper Alpha oil rig in 1988. The towering inferno, which claimed the lives of 167 North Sea oil workers, was the world's worst offshore oil rig disaster. It took Red Adair and his team more than 2 weeks to bring it under control, but it doesn't compare with the size of the problem facing them in Kuwait. Around 800 Kuwaiti oil wells are thought to be on fire, creating a thick black smog that at times blocks out the sun. The fires are said to have been started by fleeing Iraqi soldiers. The huge waste of oil and the potentially disastrous effect on the environment means Red Adair's task is an urgent one. Firefighting on this scale could never be easy, but with Kuwait in a state of chaos after the war, the vital equipment needed to battle the fire will have to be brought in from outside. The area around the wells will be sprayed with giant jets of water to cool it down, while the debris is cleared away. Then controlled explosions will be used to kill the flames. Finally, the wells will be capped to stem the flow of oil. Unchecked, it's been estimated that Kuwait's oil wells could blaze for at least 100 years. Even so, Red Adair is ready to meet the challenge.
I never expected anything like this in my life to ever happen. And it's going to put you up to a challenge, see if you're as good as everybody thinks you are. I think we'll make it.
It's Veggie Week, and a group called Animal Aid have been encouraging people to turn vegetarian before Friday. They want 1 person in 10 to be a non-meat eater by the year 2000. NewsRound's Paul Welsh reports.
In Britain, at mealtimes, most people eat meat or fish, but the number who are turning to vegetarian food is growing. When it comes to choosing to give up meat, Britain is reckoned to be leading the world. It's among young people, especially girls, that vegetarian food is most popular. One group reckon that getting on for 1 in 10 children are giving up meaty meals like this in favour of vegetarian food like this. Mark Gold from Animal Aid is asking everyone to take the Veggie Pledge this week. He says it's an easy choice to make.
More and more people are beginning to think about the number of animals killed in slaughterhouses, some 600 million in this country alone every year. And they're seeing the brutal conditions in which those animals are killed and thinking that that lump of meat on their plate isn't worth it.
But Dr. Janet Lambert from the group that represents butchers and farmers says there are good reasons not to give up meat.
Well, it tastes very nice for a start, but it's also a good source of protein, of course. And more important than that, it's a very good source of natural vitamins and minerals.
If people find that it tastes good, they have to think whether it's worth the death and misery of all those animals. People are beginning to realise that that lump of meat on their plate was once a living animal, that it's been reared in a farm where it hasn't had much room, and have been killed in a slaughterhouse that is really rather brutal.
Farmers really care about their animals, and pigs, for example, rather like being inside a nice warm environment, it's cosy. But that's only a small number of animals. I bet most people have seen that there are cows out in the fields and there are sheep on the hillsides. So it's only about half the pigs that are kept indoors like that anyway.
The argument over food has gone on for years. It's bound to continue all through Veggie Pledge Week and well after.
And finally, American scientists have just unveiled the latest pictures, beamed back millions of miles across space, from their Magellan probe. They're the most detailed images yet of the planet Venus. Magellan has mapped more than half of the planet's surface since arriving there last summer. By putting together thousands of photos, scientists at the space agency NASA have created these computer images. They show steep valleys and high volcanoes. The researchers think they could receive images of an erupting volcano in the coming months. And that's all from NewsRound for now. I'll be back around the same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Now, I bet you never thought that watching paint dry could be exciting. Well, tomorrow's Blue Peter could prove you wrong when Yvette takes on a jumbo paint job. Will she paint herself into a corner? Find out tomorrow at 5:05. You're going on a plane like that, and it's very much the same in more ways than one. You know, I mean, didn't need a big, long work like that. Lucy, thank you very much. Sean, they're all clapping next door. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Lucy. Now, guys, Sean, obviously everyone is going to recognise you from Grange Hill.
Yes.
You left Grange Hill and now have got Dodgem top museums. Which do you prefer?
Oh, it's tough, but I think we had a very good laugh filming Dodgems. I had a marvellous person to work with, and but
If you didn't hear her, she said creep in, just in case.
no, but I think they were equally brilliant programmes to work on.
Now, Lucy, this is the first time you've been on television, apart from the fact that we did work together when I worked on the other channel, when I interviewed you when you were doing a stage show.
Yeah.
But you've moved on now to the big screen, the big BBC screen at that.
Oh.
Have you not noticed? No, do you enjoy it?
Yeah, very much. It's brilliant.
I mean, what was it like working? Obviously, Sean was quite popular. What was it like going into a series with somebody like Sean?
Well, it was just like when we went away to film the last series,
Right.
everybody was looking at him. Quite enjoyed myself, really. Everyone staring and things like that.
Well, he's a bit of a heartthrob, though, I hear. Bit of a heartthrob. Now, you've got your...
For some.
Yeah. Ooh. Cutting. You've got your two stonk jokes. Because they argued so much about which jokes to use, they've both got one, so quickly do your jokes.
I'll do mine first. A boy snake and a father snake together. The boy snake says, "Dad, are we poisonous?" The father snake says, "Of course we are. Son, why do you ask?" And the boy snake says, "Because I've just bitten my tongue."
Thank you very much to Emma Fairclough. Sean, do yours. You've got 14 seconds.
Stonker.
Stonker.
What do you get if you jump in the Red Sea?
I don't know. What do you get if you jump in the Red Sea?
Wet.
Wet. That comes from Louise Caven. Guys, thank you very much. You're not going to Hong Kong, are you, Wilson?
Each week, check out all the latest gossip on your TV and pop stars. There's loads of brilliant competitions, all your favourite cartoons, and puzzle over the Puzzle It Out page. Plus, all the news on the latest films, videos, books, and computers. And pin up some fantastic posters. That's all in Fast Forward every week.
Thank you, Jackie.
Just go.